Hello, and thanks for joining us. My name is Dr. Tracey Benson, and I'm with Geert Vermiere, who's a friend and collaborator, and we will be presenting this panel session, which is about locative media Oceania. So I will just share my screen and then we will begin. Okay, so Nara Nulam and hello everyone. And I would just like to begin by acknowledging the Jundaburi people, the traditional custodians of Yarra Bribie Island, which is part of Gubbi Gubbi Nation in southeast Queensland, the lands on which I live and work. I'd also like to acknowledge the lands on which Geert lives and works. And I would also like to acknowledge elders past, present and emerging and thank them for their deep knowledge and connection to the beautiful lands and waters in which we live. And I would also like to acknowledge any First Nation people that may be in the audience watching this recording. So just to begin, we're going to talk about a project that happened last year in September and October called Meeting of the Waters, Locative Media Oceania. Geert and I will both discuss the project from different perspectives, and we will also share some video content from the program. So I'm just going to start by sharing a small trailer that is in progress, but we'll share it as it gives a really good context to the project so far. Meeting Oceania, or Meeting of the Waters, Locative Media Oceania, was an online creative and educational program which happened in September and October in 2021. We had speakers from many First Nation communities from around the Oceania region, including Vanuatu, Aotearoa, New Zealand, and many First Nations within Australia. The aim of the program was to link ideas related to climate change, cultural knowledge and sovereignty with creative engagement, mapping and locative media. We had 36 participants which came from the four corners of the earth, each relating to their own water body. In this video, we present some of the documentation from the program, as well as some of the participants and speakers' thoughts and continuing work which focuses on the life of the water.
Hi, this is Varnamala from Kolkata, West Bengal, India. I don't have a specific water body as such. I like admiring the distinct nature and various moods of different water bodies, whether it's a lake in my locality or the wetland regions in the outskirts of my city, or the rivers, creeks and channels of the deltaic islands of the Indian Sundarbans, where I go to field work every month.
Hi, my name is Geeta Rupnarain. I'm a visual artist. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and I live here in Greece now. My body of water is in Faliro near Athens, and I go to this body of water as regularly as I can. My connection with water is spiritual. I think of water as being a support. It supports us, it makes way for us, it even listens to us.
What's coming is going. In the time when the tide is turning, in the space in between. It's not really in between. It's another place, another state. There appears to be a stillness, there's definitely peace. As I watch the water weave, thoughts and feelings weave their way to me.
But we've lost our indigenous
Global
connection
circulation,
to water.
made up of constant large-scale and
And yes, I'm in connection with several Locative Media Oceania participants. Whether it is Nicole V. Cash, I'm interacting with her Billy Can or Made Working App project. And I'm also in touch with Geeta Rupnarin.
Oceania project was really interesting, and my major takeaway was listening to the indigenous people talk about how they interact with their environment, how they gain knowledge, and how memory and ancestry play a great role. And I was able to take this into my own work. I've been collaborating with Bamala Roy. She's an artist living in India and has been working in a project where we made some artistic interventions to help people interact with their environment.
Meeting of the Waters, Locative Media Oceania, is a collaboration between Supercluster and Tree Create. The program was also hosted by the Centre of Applied Water Science at University of Canberra and funded by the University of Canberra. Partners included Photo Access and the Australian Water Partnership. Yeah.
Good morning from Zeeland or Sealand. I'm at the Dutch-Belgian border on this moment, visiting my mother, and literally on the bottom of the sea, like 100 years ago, this was sea, and now it is land. So how could we find a more suitable place to talk about Locative Media Oceania and the meeting of the waters with the land? I would like to tell something about Locative Media, which was a focus in this project. First of all, what is Locative Media? Locative Media, or as well sometimes called mobile spatial media, are a suite of applications, digital or physical, that are explicitly spatial and with location and mapping at the core. They include often digital mapping software, GPS, smartphones and location-based mobile applications. And as you all know, they increasingly coming to affect our daily lives and even more how we understand and experience the world around us. One of the key features of Locative Media is its ability to be both a personal and a public technology. So it blurs the boundaries between the personal and the collective experiences of our environment, of public space and place. So specifically, our interest in this project and in our activities is to investigate how locative media might help us to make sense of how the local knowledge and experiences of public space intersects with other locales and places around the world. This project was in collaboration between Supercluster, Tree Create, and the other partners that Tracey mentioned just a minute ago. And Supercluster is an online platform for interdisciplinary collective collaboration through a hybrid form of local and global creation and learning with these locative media, using mobile and digital mapping technologies. We use these popular media, the locative media, in an educational setting to foster meaningful engagement with locally, globally issues. The key feature of locative media is what we use, namely the ability of locative media to locate and to tell stories about the place where people live, and to study how effective this technology is in helping people make sense of the locally situated experience in relations to global forces of change. Collaborative learning and creation is the methodology we use, a hybrid form where learning and creation comes together. And that is going through the online platform of Supercluster, where we provide online talks, video tutorials, online and digital resources to work with the creative media. And we are continuously communicating our experimental methods, experiences, and results from the project available beyond the project for all interested. We are specifically working on the locally global spatial narratives, exploring the potential of locative media as an educational tool for understanding more the global forces of change and crisis of our world by using locative media. That is what I wanted to share with you about locative media and our platform. Tracey.
Thank you, Geert. I'm going to share screen again, and just to give some context about how Tree Create, which is a small social enterprise based in Australia, which brings together place-based projects that connect ideas of regenerative practices with creativity and mindfulness practice. With Supercluster was through a series of walking workshops that Geert facilitated, and I think we met in 2018 in Cyprus. So our conversations started some years ago, and very much the nature of the work that I think both of our organisations do is around building those relationships so they unfold over time and give that depth of the local, global ways of practice and connecting through technology and place. So that's a little bit of the context of how Geert and I met. The background to Locative Media Summer School, Locative Media Oceania was inspired by the Locative Media Summer School, which was held at King's College in 2020, and Supercluster worked with King's College to present that program, which was an online program which ran for 2 weeks. And this project I thought was really fabulous. And I went, Geert and I spoke, and I then went to my university, the University of Canberra, where I'm an adjunct, and spoke to Ross Thompson, who's the director of the Centre for Applied Water Science. So that's where the beginnings of the project emerged. Because of the work that I'd been doing with the Centre of Applied Water Science and Ross's interest in the synergies between art, science and knowledge, and in particular Indigenous knowledge, that started to unfold some of the themes that resulted in the program. But just to give a little bit of context around how that relationship evolved, I'm just going to skip very quickly through the project that's been evolving since I've been working with the University of Canberra, called Words for Water. And that has also been very much inspired by working with First Nation other artists and cultural custodians around the lands of Vanuatu, Aotearoa, New Zealand and Australia. So the central themes of that come through this project and also through Locative Media Oceania Meeting of the Waters is that water is a connector between people, places and species. So I'll just jump through a few slides here just to show you. So the theme of water has been circling through my creative practice in a range of ways for many years. And this is back in 2013, the words that we started to collect that related to different languages and their words for water. So this sort of just gives some context of the background. And the Murray-Darling Basin, the images that I'm showing you here, this was a major theme of the program. So we had one panel, which were 4 First Nation traditional custodians that spoke from their own experience of the Murray-Darling Basin, and in particular their watershed, and the cultural context of that, and also the issues that were facing them in their part of the world. So I'm just going to skip through these. So a range of media have been explored, like augmented reality and video. And as I mentioned, connecting through some different contexts of place in Australia, New Zealand, Vanuatu. And some of the artists that have collaborated on this project also were speakers and other participants. So, for example, this project with Ashley Muller, who's an Irish artist, she was one of the participants in the project. And it was very much, you know, looking at the idea that, you know, meeting of the waters, it's about meeting of ideas, but also meeting and sharing an awareness. And this work was a direct response to the Murray River mass fish kills. So those kinds of stories are also central to understanding the challenges of place in climate change. So I'm going to just hand over to Geert to talk about the specific themes that we explored in the Locative Media summer schools and the one that we did last year.
Now, our specific interest goes to the global forces of change and how we can engage people with an awareness of the changes that are happening in our world, and as well how to engage with them locally by learning from global situations. The climate change and related to that forced migrations are the main local global issues of today, and we investigate these through the locative media, as we mentioned before. They are both planetary issues that force us to reckon with big changes at local scale. So we are stimulated and as well required to think and adapt across scales all the time. The global and the local are connected with another on a scale that was never before. And this is likely to dissect further in the coming years as the climate crisis forces many people, millions of people, to migrate from one place to another, and to bringing the global in the local. And unfortunately, the local is dissolving in the global by all these people moving around. The effect on climate change is as well further that it changes our environment thoroughly. So we are investigating how we can use locative media to educate on these issues, and to do this to an active learning environment where it is both about learning as about agency and about being active together. So we develop learning strategies that encourage joint up thinking. The collaborative, the collective come together. So people think and act together for our present and future planet. These are the themes, Tracey.
Thank you very much. So building on what Geert just spoke about, the context of Oceania coming into that was very much came out of my personal experience of the summer school and the realization of the way that we think on a global context between the global north and the global south. So being a resident of the global south, the southern hemisphere, you know, we are separated by a lot of distance. The ocean's very big. Our time difference is also a challenge sometimes. And I really wanted to explore how we could bring back very gently attention to this part of the world. Because as with many other parts of the world, we are really facing the crisis of climate change. So we have the diversity of challenges from sinking islands or rising sea levels, I should say, in Vanuatu and Pacific Islands, to increased flooding and earthquake activity throughout the Pacific, and also both Australia and New Zealand have been confronted with floods most recently, and increased vulnerability around other related issues, the erratic weather patterns causing fire, cyclones, and so really the focus of bringing the attention back to Oceania region and inviting a global audience to do that was also to tap into the extremely rich cultural context of this part of the world. So being based in Australia, we have over 250 Indigenous language groups. It's the oldest living Indigenous culture in the world, and we're surrounded by other Indigenous cultures, which not only are very unique and special, they have a depth of knowledge around place, and their philosophical outlook is in connection. Geert mentioned before about how things being interconnected and interrelated. So we very much wanted to explore that in a way where we could talk about the region, but also invite the participants and the group to explore some of these things that connect us all as a species on this planet. So that was some of the themes that really brought together those different resonances. Did I miss anything, Geert?
No, it's quite complete, Tracey. It's indeed all about being connected.
That's good. And I'm glad this is a conversation that we're having. So we had a whole range of speakers from a diverse range of backgrounds. So we saw some of the speakers at the beginning, and as I mentioned, we had a whole panel that were speakers from the Murray-Darling Basin. We also had artists from Canada. We had scientists specialising in water science. And we also had a session on the rights of nature and earth laws. So there was a whole range of different speakers that came, and here's a little bit of a show and tell, which is also in the video clip. Now, Oh, that's right. Okay. So then I'm going to just jump now back to the screen slideshow. And what I'd like to just share with you is, leading up to the event, there were some conversations that we had with some of the speakers, which our other collaborator, Fred Adam, very creatively turned into audiograms. And I just want to share some of these with you. And these little audiograms were used as a way of sharing some insights and just thoughts that came through from some of our speakers. So I'd just like to share some of these short snippets with you now.
And when we say water is life, water is our heart. It has so much to do with our purpose. Everything we did was connected to the water and making sure the water was flowing, and by keeping the reeds thick on the sides of the water and just clearing the middle section. That was the only section that had to flow. And by keeping the reeds, because we had our country was so full of reeds.
And this one's from Tyson Yunkaporta.
You know, our elders' special connection to land and special connection to country, and special relationship, you know, with community and country, because I don't think that is special. I think that's just normal. You know, the idea of making it special means that it's not something that humans will be able to return to, industrialized modern humans.
You just listened to Tyson Yunkaporta talking about connection to land. Visit meetingoceana.org to join the conversation. Sandy Sir from Vanuatu.
I do a lot of understanding or research behind the water music, which is, it weaves a lot of stories and meaningful values that connects everything on earth and human as life cycle in the environment. So the understanding of a mother or a girl or woman reflects the life in the water, the pattern of the water weaves as the current and the flow of the water that cycle the life of the human as well as cycle the life of the earth.
You have been listening to Sandy Sir talking about Vanuatu women's water music. Follow the conversation on meetingoceania.org. And Desna Wangaskollam.
Whakapapa, which is often translated as genealogy, but it's not only genealogy. It's a layering of different knowledges and events that have happened in a particular place. The roots of it is that all of us come from Rangi Nui, who is the sky ecosystem, Papatūānuku, so Mother Earth ecosystem as our eponymous ancestors, and then from that come down 7 other ecosystems. So you've got Tāne, which is the forest of birds, Tangaroa, which is sea and sea creatures, Rongo for vegetation, Tumatoinga, which is war, Vermiere Tiki, which is uncultivated food, and Rua Moko, or the earthquakes, and Tawhiri Matia, which is the wind elements or the weather elements.
And Bruce Shillingsworth.
And I think we've got to create big projects like this, bringing together of all people, You know, it's a gathering of all of us now. And we've got to create a modern day corroboree. A modern day corroboree is bringing people from all different walks of life, of different background, to come and sit and listen and talk and listen to stories, you know, and then we can start putting pressure on our leaders and our governments. That's what needs to happen.
You have been listening to Bruce Shillingsworth talking about the need for a modern day corroboree. Find out more at meetingoceania.org. Geert, I might hand to you. I was thinking we might go to the map now, and so we can look at what some of the participants' work has looked like over the time.
As mentioned before, we believe strongly in agency, and as well in the motto, the future will be beautiful or will not be. Then we believe that with a critical mass we can gain by the stories that people tell about the places, the stories that relate people to the places, not only by connecting people with the places, but also connecting over time, to bring in the knowledge, the wisdom, and the imagination of people from our ancestors and people from long times ago, for the people from now and for the future. In that sense, that the maps that we create collaboratively, collectively, just like telling stories and listening to stories as a collective experience that you have around a fire pit, we believe that creating of maps and creating of stories as maps and maps as stories is a collective, joined up activity. So we invited the participants that were from around the world to connect with Oceania, to listen to the stories of Oceania over the times that they were told, and to relate this to their place and bringing it back, what their environment has to tell, to what their land has to tell to Oceania participants, and to collaborate on creative outcomes next to new ideas, because for us, imagination has a critical mass. If you bring enough people together that imagine another future, we believe that this will happen. So the results were a series of maps with stories in various media, digital media, videos, sounds, texts, that were made in groups of people around the world. And that share ideas, because the collaborations were not only with artists, but as well with scientists and people from various backgrounds, and that are now even getting in another perspective because they are all joined together. All these collaborative projects, the separate groups are covering the world as a sheet with a new text of their visions and actions they undertake relating to the global crisis of today and water. You want to add something to that, Tracey?
Yeah, so I'm just clicking through the different map entries, and we're still continuing to build on this map, aren't we, Geert? So even though the project just ran during the 2.5 weeks, it's still open for the participants to build more content into the map, and we imagine that it will continue to grow as a living sort of weaving of stories from all over the world.
Absolutely. This is not an archive. That is not meant to document. It's a call for action, as you said before. this map is crying out for people to join, to contribute, but as well to not to feel alone and to see that many problems we have around the world are the same and are actually having the same causes, and that we can do something about that. So in that perspective, this map is bringing people together.
Yeah, thanks, Geert. And just a little bit of information about the participants. We had participants from Europe and the UK. We had them from Australia, New Zealand, India, China, I think, as well as the States. Did I leave anybody else? Middle East, I think, as well.
We had from, indeed, from Egypt, from India, we had from South America, so from all inhabited continents, we had people participating.
Yeah.
From dry lands, from wetlands, really from all sorts of ecosystems.
Yes.
From the northern, from the southern hemisphere, and specifically this exchange, as you already talked about as well, Tracey, the folding of the northern and the southern hemisphere on each other, which we did with this map, brought specifically very interesting insights about how different the hemispheres still are and how much the needs are different.
Yeah, I think it highlighted that, but it also highlighted how many challenges are the same. You know, that even though the ecosystems are different and geography it separates us from each other, many of the challenges that the places, you know, are experiencing right now are similar. They're just presented in different ways. Our next steps. So we're getting close to the end of this session, and yeah, so there's been ongoing conversations since the program. So one of the things that's been happening is we have a monthly get together where different speakers and participants gather once a month just to catch up. Sometimes we have presentation from the different artists who've been involved. Sometimes we create poetry or we work on a theme. So that's been something that's been really fabulous, that's ongoing. That's also open if people want to reach out to us and join that conversation. And that's also evolving into a community of practice around locative media, and in particular, a focus on how that connects with water-related themes. And there's also potentially some exhibitions evolving out of this too later in the year, and some residencies. So very much this project is going to continue, and there will probably be more happening over the next 12 months. And I will just hand to Geert. You probably have some more detail you might want to share on this before we wrap it up.
Certainly. Now, the water play you mentioned emerged spontaneously out of the course, the process that we engaged with the 36 participants who had really a need and a desire to continuing the exchange of ideas and practice together. And this not only led to creating a map, the desire was to show each other the places where the participants live on a more physical way, and they came up with proposals as walks together, connected via tools as WhatsApp, exchanging in life simultaneously their environment, their living environment with each other, to get each other know better through the land where they live. And to engage as well in artistic projects, which we are now collecting in exhibitions that may travel around the different continents. The strength of this project was not only to create a map of stories, but as well to engage people with the ground itself, which was not very easy because it was in the middle of pandemic, and even more difficult in Australia, which was very hard hit at that period. But the project led as well to finding very creative ways to still keep walking, still keep being in the landscape and being together on a human way and on a beyond human way, with connecting as well with the creatures and the world around us. That is more than human. Using digital tools as a way to be deeper connected with the physical world. That is now leading to not only material outcomes, but as well to the creation of new ideas, visions that are continuously shared in monthly meetings with the participants. We feel as well the need of many artists to understand more the potential of locative media. What we gave in this course in 2.5 weeks was barely a dipping a toe in the potential of this, and how these locative media actually are putting layers of imagination and new possibilities on the territory, and which is not so commonly known among artists, and they extend their practice. We see that they're extending their practice with this new tool. Out of that, we see the need to organize more workshop courses to introduce artists and other creatives and people from all backgrounds to use locative media as a tool for change and exchange.
So, Geert, I just thought, I just had a thought that I might just share the PowerPoint that we collaboratively made with the participants with all of their places. I thought that might be a nice thing just to flick through, and then I think we should wrap it up. What do you think?
Yes, I'm looking forward to this to these last images, and as well to have been connected with you between the north and the south, between the Sealand and Oceania.
Totally, I really I think it's a really rich program and collaboration that we've both been on with our community, and I hope that we connect again and be able to share more as we go along. So these slides, just to finish, I'm hoping you can see everyone's places. So we invited people to just pop in their connections to water and where they felt like their water body was aligned. And we had some beautiful images and short stories that connected through here. And another way that we also shared this was through a Miro board, which I won't show. But this gives a really nice sense of the diversity of people and places. hot and cold. Okay. I think that's everything. So thank you very much, Geert, for joining me in this flow.
It was a delight, Tracey.
Okay, we'll sign off now. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.